Okay, folks, so I'm working on my quilt here, as you saw the last time. It will be in this entirety here. So what I'm going to do is, again, I do not attempt this at home. I am going to, I could unpick that. I'm not going to. I can't be bothered. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this border here. I'm going to take off this border here. And because I'm going to be, see, I added a piece there and I added a piece here of the black that I have. I'm just going to be taking this off. I may or may not use this now that I'm looking at it. What my thought right now is, I'm going to be taking off the center square, or as it is here, this the diamond shape, the center square. And just then trying to figure out, I'm going to save my corners, and I might or might not save this. I'm just going to eyeball it. Because I'm going to be adding black around it. So I'm just going to cut this 1/4 of an inch like that, and then cut this over here. Don't worry, folks. I don't recommend you guys doing this. But as I said, I'm gonna work out how I'm going to make this quilt squarer. And I will be doing some kind of math, I believe. But for now, I'm just going to be cutting this off and working my way working from this center square. So here I am. Yeah. I did get quite a few ideas I was quite pleased with, and the one I think I'm going to be implementing is incorporating my flying geese fabric next, and I'll show you what I do. So that's that bit. Oh, I should have actually taken a photograph of this before, if you're just tuning in. This quilt, which I think I have pictures of before. It was very not square whatsoever. I didn't, these setting triangles, this is what I was meaning by a setting triangle. I just started slicing off big triangles, and it didn't work. Putting these on, and I had to add a whole bunch of black. I was making this, and this is a very good lesson. Don't start a quilt or a project when you have other things going on, important things in your life. I had started this quilt in the middle of, or at the beginning of, a downsizing from our old home where we had lived for 28 years. To say it was traumatic was you know, is downplaying it. It was very, very traumatic the last year or so. And this quilt sort of took the brunt of my confusion and my angst, really, because I didn't know what I was doing. Because I'm usually pretty good, even when I don't have a pattern. I'm usually pretty good. But this was a mess. And a lot of people, it was interesting, a lot of people were saying, well, Jean, you always say why, you know, things don't have to be perfect. Absolutely. You know me. Absolutely. Look at me, I'm winging it. I'm not doing this perfect, but this quilt I measured it. It was 7 inches smaller on one side. It was really out of whack. And even even though it's just my quilt for over the bed or whatever, the sofa, even to me, it was like, I just try to fix it, try to do something with it. Try to do something. And so here I am, trying to do something with it. So what I'm doing is I'm just, oh, there we go, just meet up with there. Look at that. I'm just going to, I have this now, I have the center section here, a little, as I said to Ian, can I just make this, can I just, put a border on this? Actually, I could just bind it now and make a quilt, right? And he said, no, Jean, he says, you've taken the time to do your corners, and, they're quite lovely. And actually, Ian pointed out to me, let me just go get it. I'm going to be cutting out now. I'm going to be cutting out this fabric. I'm going to be cutting out just the flying geese. Just that thing of flying geese. I will lose some of these stripes. That's okay. I'll cut 1/4 of an inch on each side of the stripes. So when I sew this on, I'm just going to have the flying geese show. Just that black. And as he was saying, I said, well, you know, there's semicircles in this quilt here, there, you know, which I had cut out of my fabric. There's the half circles, I should say, and there's dots here, and there's circles. And he says, well, but he was saying it was nice to have an independent. He said, I see flying geese here, and he's right. So these triangles that I had done for my Dresden plate are triangular. So he said, it's good that you have this fabric that incorporates obviously all of the colors, and you do have the triangular bits. So when I go to use this, I'm going to put that bit aside. I'm going to put all my corners aside. I'm not worrying about them now. And now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over and press this really well. I have this corner. I'll figure something out there. I'm going to cut out with my rotary cutter. I'm going to cut out all of these. I do have enough. Let me see. I do have enough here of this fabric that I can get quite, yes, yeah. I can get quite a few lengths. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have 12 lengths of flying geese. So I will lose the stripe, but that's okay. That's all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start by cutting this out 1/4 of an inch right along there. And again, by all means, I should be using a ruler, but it's okay. So I have that like that. And then when I go to sew it on, I would just be putting the black next to the black. So I'm going to continue doing this, and I will show you what I do next. So I've cut off the corners of my quilt, and as you can see, I just measured it. This is almost 60 inches square. Isn't that amazing? That's quite amazing. Now, as you can see, so I have a nice square to work with here. As you can see on the bottom corners here, I have to add, or I'm going to be adding, a little triangle of fabric to make it square, because I just sliced that off. Because this was on the diamond, if you remember. I'm working on it with the square, but I'm just going to be working with this square, and then I'll turn it up and add the corner triangles like I had before. But as you can see, my just slicing it off, which I do not recommend, worked. I just measured it. It's awesome. Now, I have to still press it. I pressed it a little bit. I'm really pleased with it. This is sort of what I'm going to be doing. I just pinned this up here now. See my triangles? My flying geese here? I just pinned it up there. I'm going to be stitching so I have the whole flying geese. And as you can see, it really makes a pop. This is going to be a real explosion of color, but I really like that. I really like that. And I do like the fact that my husband pointed out that I have these points here, and it brings the points over. That it really does. And just by sheer chance, that fabric that I have, the flying geese, just pulls all of the colors. Now, as you can see here, oops, these are my 12 flying geese that I just cut out, my strips. This one, as you were watching me, this has the selvage, and you don't usually ever want to sew with the selvage. I probably won't be using that. I'm going to be putting up 4 of these on each side of my square. These are long enough. These are measuring about 62 inches I have here, so I have enough for the four squares here. And this is, again, forget the stripe. It's just going, I'm just going to be stitching it right along there so you don't see the stripe. All you see, oh my phone, all you see are the flying geese here. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm going to be attaching them. I'm just going to attach the corners. So, what do you think, folks? I've attached my flying geese. I've built up the corner. There's a seam there. Actually, there's a couple of seams in that one. That's okay. You can't really tell. I'll bring the camera back. No, you can't tell with the black. So I've attached my flying geese. That fabric, look at that. The black just goes to the black of that manufacturer just goes to the black of the, I think it's a Kona I used. And yeah, I love the pop of flying geese around there. Like this quilt was very boring. It needed another pop of color. So my flying geese go around like that. And then there. Oh, I've messed up. I should have them going up, shouldn't I? Oh well. See, now that doesn't bother me in the least. Oh yeah, one's going one way and one's going, oh well, ones are going flying north and ones are flying south. They should be going all the way around. See, now the things like that don't bother me at all. That is creative license. They sort of like collide in that corner. So anyway, there's that. Oh, who's that? Oh, my phone's going. So there's that. Now I'm going to, I might put a bit of white. I might do a little strip of white to add a little bit more relief over here instead of filling it all up with the black again. I have to put this on point. I have to make this like a diamond shape. I should have hung it that way. To put my corners on now. This will require a little bit of, not math. Well, yeah, I guess it would be, excuse me, I guess it would be math. Some figuring out. But I think right for now, I'm going to stop this video. And I'm going to get Ian in here and have him help me. But I just think, I literally could put a binding on that and call it a day, couldn't I? And I like this stripe, sort of. I mean, I cut that off. And I have the extra, but it's only about an inch. I'd have to sew it. Anyway, I'd have to sew long strips together to make a 2 1/4 binding. But I do think I'm going to put the corners on. I have all that extra. I did the Dresden plate in the corners. But yeah, this is how far I've come along. Put my flying geese on to sort of use that fabric and tie it all together. Add another punch of color. Oh, I think it's very pretty. Very, very pretty. So I cut all these out, the semicircles, the half circles, and then that's just fabric. I always say, let the fabric do the work. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Beautiful fabric. Was it North Cut? I cut the selvage off. I think it's North Cut fabric, maybe a couple years ago. Could be out of print. Because a couple people were like, love that flying geese fabric. I think that's just glorious. Yeah. So, yeah. And this was a suggestion. Oh, who was it? Busy Bee. I believe it was Busy Bee. I don't know your name. You suggested this to add the flying geese and then add the corners. So I took your suggestion. Somebody else had suggested that I do a trailing flying geese with a butterfly, but that would have meant I would have had to almost cut them, and I didn't fancy doing that to make the curve. I'm getting over. So I don't know if I'm going to. I'm just looking at this. I don't know if I'm going to do. Oh, stop, Maxwell, stop. So what do you think, Maxwell?
Fixed now, finally. After how long?
No, after a year. Well, no. What do you think of it? It's not fixed all the way. It's not,
so I remember when this was up here.
It was a bit crooked.
Very crooked.
It was a little bit crooked. But look, I've made it square now.
First time in the year.
I know. What do you think of it? What do you think of my flying geese? That was somebody commented.
I don't see a flying.
No. The things around here, around the very edges. That's called a flying geese. That fabric.
It does not look like a flying geese?
It does. Look at it. Look at it.
No.
You don't think
No.
it looks like a flying geese? Well, that's what that fabric is
All I
called.
see is triangles.
Yeah, those triangles in quilt world are called flying geese. Okay, so
You and quilt people have weird names.
I know. So listen, now I have to put the corners on it. Remember, I cut the corners off,
Yes.
and so it's square now. It looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So do you like it?
Not something I would put on my bed, but I like it.
Yeah, it could go in your office, above your rig.
That's not happening.
That's-
anytime soon.
No, but do you like it? So far, it's a work in progress.
A work in progress.
Thank you, Maxwell.